Our guest today for Hispanic Heritage Month has represented the 75th District in the Connecticut House of Representatives since 2016. He has received countless community service awards, including the Waterbury Observer's Best Community Activist for 6 years. Lupa's 2014 Top 50 Most Influential Latinos in Connecticut. Connecticut Parent Power's 2014 Parent and Community Service Award. Latino de Oro, Politician of the Year Award in 2018. Leadership and Trailblazer Award in 2017. 2019 Connecticut League of Conservation Environmental Champion and Connecticut Energy Solutions Environmental Champion. He currently serves a leadership role of Deputy Speaker of the Connecticut House. He took the time to come here in the heart of election season. Please welcome back from Waterbury, State Representative Geraldo Reyes.
Woo!
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for having me. I am Geraldo Reyes, State Representative, 75th District of Waterbury. Just to give you a perspective of my borders, Waterbury now has 7 representatives. We added 2 with, I'm going to say, gerrymandering of the district. We only have 5, and we added 2 Republicans. The 68th District, which is now part of Watertown and the west end of Waterbury, and the East Mountain Range now comes into Prospect. So we now have 3 representatives that are Republican and 4 that are Democratic. And all this comes from the gerrymandering of the maps. It's just that simple. We have 5, now we have 7. I come to you today to talk not just about civil rights and the Latino presence here in the state of Connecticut, but I am going to just go off the tail here of the attorney and talk a little bit about Indigenous Day. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, downtown Waterbury, we're actually having a Taino memorial service. It's from 7 to 8, and this is our 3rd year doing it, and it's solely on the recognition and respect of the Taino people, of which I belong to. Puerto Ricans have Taino blood. We not only have European and African blood, but we still have Taino blood. And this is a discussion and debate that's still going on to this day, that one camp believes that there are no Tainos left. The other camp believes absolutely they're still left, and they're still sprinkled throughout not only the entire Caribbean, but also South America and even into Mexico. What I will tell you is that I just got back from Puerto Rico 2-3 weeks ago, and we are working on a collab school, which will include the curriculum of the Taino heritage. And we went to Puerto Rico to seek better understanding, better knowledge of exactly what is left, what tributes do they have to the Taino legacy, and where can we start to unveil and get these legacies actually put on paper, and actually so we can start teaching it here. New Haven is already going to be the leader. They're going to have the first Taino collab school in the state of Connecticut, and Waterbury, if everything goes according to my plan, will have the second. And I say my plan because I'm one of 7 political leaders in there, and I still have to sell this to the political leadership that's in Waterbury to bring a curriculum that says that we want to not only expand our schools to have another choice, a different choice, a better choice maybe, but also include the Taino history into the curriculum, not as a course, but as all 4 years. So these are high schools that we're talking about. So this is 9 through 12. This is a little different than what we have in Waterbury right now, or the state of Connecticut. 3 years ago, we adapted and put in Puerto Rican Latino history into high school courses. They weren't mandatory they're not mandatory when we put them in. We're working on making them mandatory, and we're also working on bringing them down to not just high school, but bringing them down to the middle school. Because the earlier you learn, the more you will be able to understand. And I think there's enough material there to teach everybody from the ground up. I want to talk a little bit about civil rights. I just want to read my first statement here on civil rights. And it says, Over the past 20 years, civil rights advocacy has greatly shaped the Latino community's fight for equal opportunities, protections in areas like education, labor, immigration, and voting rights. The Latino community has seen significant gains in terms of legal victories, representation, public awareness, although challenges persist. Nobody gives up power without a struggle. So there are 17 Latino legislators in the state of Connecticut out of 187 total legislators in the state of Connecticut. That's a percentage of only 9%. So we are at our highest mark ever in the state of Connecticut with Latino legislator, and it's 17. So much so now that we have actually, we do have the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus, which is 44 members strong, but we've also have created our own Latino caucus, if you will, which is 17 members, not because we want to be any different or we want to fight and challenge our brothers with our African American brothers, but because there are specific issues that are Latino dominated and have to be Latino focused. So what happens is we may have an issue that affects only the Latino community, and we'll get the support from the African Americans, and we'll have, again, a strong body of 44 units, 44 people pushing in the same direction. I wanted to talk a little bit about the education piece when it comes to civil rights. We still have Hispanic speaking voters that will go to a poll and A, either have the wrong identification, B, have no identification, or C, they have no record of this particular voter being on the registrar, even though we know that voter has voted in the past and or we know for a fact that they're registered because we registered them. So we think that these are things that happened in the past, so you go to the vote and they turn you back. What happens with a lot of the Hispanic speaking voters, they don't have enough education to know that they have every right to cast a provisional vote, every single one of them, and they don't realize they have that right. What do? Mrs. Santiago, I'm sorry, it doesn't show that you live on River Street anymore. We don't know where you live. I'm sorry, that ID is not any good. Mrs. Santiago goes home. A week later, I thank her for her vote. She says she wasn't able to vote, that she wasn't on the list. Why do I say that as an example? Because these are real life examples of what happens, not just in Waterbury. Anywhere where there is a predominant Hispanic speaking population, you're going to run into these situations. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. You're going to run into these situations. And I have gone over these with many of the voters, these type of particular experiences. I have gone and told them, every single one of you have a right to vote there. Even if you don't think it's the right polling place, you still have a right to put in a provisional ballot. It's up to the town clerk to count A, say it's an official ballot, or B, it's not. But you have to have the right to be able to vote. And that's one of the things that affects my community, the ability to not have all the ammunition that you need to demand it. Damn it, I am entitled to vote here. And that's the hard piece that we go into year in, year out. It's the education piece. This year, for example, first time in the state of Connecticut, early voting. 2 weeks of early voting. I have been speaking for over 40 days on early voting. I have now, instead of making it clearer and easier for my voters, I've now confused them, because they believe that if I bring them the absentee ballot sooner, that's early voting. When in actuality, the absentee ballot has nothing to do with this. This is about you going down to the town clerk and voting right there, and for 14 days before the actual election day. So I speak to that point because it's about education. This is the first time that it's happening in the state of Connecticut, and I implore everybody to please vote to try to pass once and for all, no excuse, early voting for all. Right now, we only have the absentee ballot with the 5 excuses, mainly being physical disabled or being out of the country and those type of excuses. But I have been advocating, the 10 years I've been in Hartford, we should have early voting. just like many other states have had it for a long, long time. We are definitely getting pushback from the opposition, saying that it's just only going to contribute and further confuse people and add to the voter fraud. This whole voter fraud conversation narrows down to one city, Bridgeport, and not only that, and it narrows down to only a few polling places. So because of the isolated cases, they want the entire state of Connecticut to pay for the anomalies of what's happening in certain polling places in Bridgeport. Don't think it's fair. I think that if you want to have fair and free elections, you should be able to have not only early voting, you should be able to cast your ballot at any time you want within the 14 days. And like I said, this is our trial, and I'm really hoping that the people take good advantage of this. I am pushing it very hard in Waterbury. One of the things that comes up with civil rights for me is the Latino workers, especially those in agricultural labor, if you will. These folks traditionally have been robbed of fair wages in many cases, and unfortunately they're adhering to a lot of unfair labor practices. This is something that is, to me, is very fundamental when we start talking about civil rights. Just because they're not in a union, just because they're not, may not even be Americans. Maybe they have an ITN number and they're just working to support their families just like you and I. That doesn't give us the right to take advantage of any of this labor and pay them less than you would somebody else that's in this country, whether illegal or not. The labor still is and will always be held accountable in the state of Connecticut. There are avenues in which these folks are able to come and protest and actually make their point made. And a lot of them are starting to wake up to that and actually seeing that now you're seeing less and less people taking advantage of undocumented labor, if you will, and or people that don't even speak the language. And I'm not just saying Spanish. There are many other immigrants here that speak different languages that many people don't speak here. It's been very, very hard for many of these families. Myself, being a Puerto Rican, being here in the United States for over 55 years, everything that I'm seeing going on right now in the terms, of, you will, of discrimination isn't much different than what I saw my mother, father, my uncles, my aunts all going through, and that was 55 years ago. And it pains me to say it, but we've come so far, and there are people that are trying to throttle us back, and there's a lot of hate that's coming to the surface now that wasn't there 10, 15, 20 years ago. Even though there was racism, even though there was differences, people were civil, and now they're not. And that's why I'm worried about the civil rights and what could happen. What more can be rolled back? What more can be rolled back if the presidency goes Republican? And I don't even want to get into all the different things there. I am a Democrat. I'm always going to advocate for democracy, and whether it's in free education, free labor, and especially when it comes to the children. I'm all about making sure that they get a great education, and that also includes the history part of it. And we need to update our civil rights history in this country, because a lot of people died and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into where we got to 50 years ago when we got the Civil Rights Act. And here we are in 2024, 2025, still defending bits and pieces of it. And we didn't get here by accident. This is being built on block by block. This is just magnified. And I'm one voice. I'm one of 151 representatives, and there's 36 senators in the state of Connecticut who will do our best to push back. But I will tell you, we are being challenged every day in Hartford with voter fraud, elections being stolen. This dialogue is not just national. We are hearing this in Hartford, folks. Even though we can't come up with hard, concrete samples, it doesn't stop the narrative from coming to Hartford. I'll give you a perfect example. This week in the Waterbury Town Clerk, at the request of the Republicans, Mr. Sampson and Master Francesco, Napoli Hartley, and myself, we went down to the town clerk, and we were evaluating and actually trying to understand and review the entire process of every type of voting method we have in Waterbury and how it's being controlled, what's monitored, what's not monitored, to the nth degree, each one of these. And I will tip my head off to the town clerk, Chick Spinelli, who did a tremendous job explaining this to the point where I believe that the Democrats and Republicans were on an even playing field. They understood that on the inside, the process was pretty clean. And we all agreed on that. That's one thing we all agreed on. The process looked pretty thorough, pretty clean for a clean and fair election in Waterbury. But one thing that was said by one of the Republicans before they left, and this stays with me because it bothered me a little bit. So everything here on the inside looks very good, and it looks like it's being controlled, and we seem very happy with it. But you guys don't control what happens on the outside, and we know that what's going on the outside is where the problem is. And again, I say that because, again, it's unwarranted. We have yet to come up with any concrete evidence that there's voter fraud in Waterbury, because I can only defend Waterbury. We have had some issues in Bridgeport, but at the end of the day, as a state, we still stand on solid ground to be able to move forward for fair and clean elections in the state of Connecticut and advance forward early voting once and for all. And I thank you for the opportunity to come out here. I'm very passionate about this because I'm living it. And all of you who are welcome to stop by the Hartford Capitol. Please come by. We can use all the support we can get. And there'll be some more laws coming out, again, advocating and pushing forward the narrative for easier. It's our job to make it easier for voting, not more difficult, not harder. We're not to put barriers, we're to remove barriers and let people get access to the ballot. So you're all welcome to come to Hartford. Please continue to advocate. I applaud everybody. What you do down here is phenomenal. I appreciate it. That's why I take time on a Sunday. I'm going back to Waterbury to campaign a little bit, but I think that what you guys do down here is phenomenal. And I thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.